Look around, see if there's somebody you have not met, and please say hello to them, and then we'll get officially started in momento. I posted this morning. This has been such a great month. It's been, so I mean, to have Marshall here this month and then have John Scott also just made it this. I don't think we've had a month quite like this. It's been very cool. And um, I feel a great sense of pride in, completing 2 years here that we've had success and continue to enjoy it. I mean, it's just good. I kind of feel like the whole month is celebrating. That's why I did. Some of you saw pictures of yourself reemerging because I sort of went through the last, not the whole time we've been here, but this last year. When we started in August of 14, so I consider August to August is our new year. And so I just went through and picked out 100 pictures. I could have picked out 500, but when you look at it all together, it's like, wow, that's really good. Even we had the board meeting 2-3 weeks ago. Avery just went through and compiled everybody that we've had, the singers, the speakers, every outreach that we've done, all the titles of the series. And when you look at that together, you're like, wow, we really do a lot here. Even our outreach for next month is Red Cross for the Louisiana flooding, but we're going to go ahead and send the check tomorrow because it's an urgent situation. Usually I send it at the end of the month, but we've got it. So it's just a blessing to be able to do that and not have to wait. Let's see how the offerings do. It's like, no, it's great. Let's go ahead and write them a check. And not that that's going to fix the situation, but if everybody just does a part, it does make a difference. And it's the principle of it. And I'll probably say all this again in a minute when the late people get here. Don't tell them I said anything, but y'all are the best ones because y'all come in on time. But don't quote me on that. But yes, I've thoroughly enjoyed this month, and I know today's going to be a very special day. We're in agreement with that. I know that you are. Please remain standing. Let's run the official beginning for our no, for YouTube, for the, that thing, the internet, the World Wide Web. I remember. Metron, everybody together. Do the drums. That was the time when we dance. Here comes our picture. Good morning, buenos dias, bonjour, welcome to Metron. We're glad you are here for the best Sunday ever at the best ministry that ever was, with the best people in the best month of the best year. It's the best day. The best songs will be sung. The best things will happen. It will start the new chapter of your best life. Just best. It's all good. Amen. I don't think it's any surprise how much I love Marshall Ruffin. Of course, we love Corey. We consider them both part of our family, and but I love his gift. I love the first note I heard out of him. I was like, wow, okay, that's good. That's not just somebody that can sing well. That's a troubadour. That's a psalmist. That's a different thing than just a guy that sings well and plays a guitar. It's I don't know how to explain it. It's different when people know how to tap into. I mean, when you can sing "Battle Hymn of the Republic" and sell it. Do you know what I mean? Because that's true. That's the kind of thing. If you came to me and said, "I'm thinking about doing it," I'd be like, I don't know. It gets mixed reactions from my crowd, and yet hearing his cover of it, it's like, oh, okay, that kind of has a whole other meaning of it, and it's just beautiful. And so I'm always happy when they can be with us. And um, I think tell me where you're playing today because we want to come hear you guys. Grant Park for the Summer Shade Festival. I've never even heard of that. What's Summer Shade Festival? Where you go celebrate summer shade? What time are you going on? Okay, Marshall will be on at 6:30 to 8, and I think Jonah's playing with you as well, right? And so that should be cool. Grant, if you've never been to Grant Park, it's really cool. That's where the zoo is and the cyclorama, and uh, yeah, we shall be there 6:30, and I demand good seats. I don't, I don't, but yeah, I do. No, it's probably not seats. You're probably standing in a park. Bring your own. Well, we'll bring our own. Thank you very much. If I will shut up and stop joking around, you could probably hear more of Marshall. Would you please welcome the awesome Marshall Ruffin? Welcome, welcome. What do you think?
I've been waiting for my winds to change, thinking about a home out on the range, for the seas that I am lost in, they are strong and they are strange. I'm waiting for my winds to change. I've been waiting for my tides to shift. Well, I feel as though I'm sailing towards a rift. So I hope the storm will pass and that these clouds will shortly lift. I'm waiting for my tides to shift. Someday I'll see a road laid long and wide, on either side, good land to reap and ride. Yes, and there will be only waters from on high, or deep inside of wells that draw and never dry. So I'm waiting for my till to turn. I've been thinking back on lessons left unlearned, upon the walls that I had built around the bridges I had burned. I'm waiting for my till to turn. someday I'll see a home with hearth lit bright, where frost will fight the plows that break and bite. Yes, I need to find the shores with lamps set high, enough to burn the sky. Oh, I know my bones will never dry, so I'm waiting for my winds to change. Been thinking about that place out on the range, for the seas that I am lost in, they are strong and dark and strange. I'm waiting for my winds to change. I'm waiting for my winds to change. He's gonna light the way to heaven forever. I know he's gonna light the way to heaven forever. I said he's gonna light the way to heaven forever. Well, good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, he's gonna light the way to heaven for me. Well, Satan is the deceiver, and he'll catch you in the dark, lead you down to the river for to drown your holy spark. But if you look into the shadow and you see a golden light, you better know that it is your Savior coming for to lead you through the night. I said he's gonna light the way to heaven forever. I said he's gonna light the way to heaven forever. I said he's gonna light the way to heaven forever. Well, good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, he's gonna light the way to heaven for me. Well, if you're in the valley of the shadow of death, and you feel the devil creeping at your back with icy breath, just look up to the mountain for a lantern in hand. You're gonna know that it is your Savior coming for to lead you to the promised land. I said he's gonna light the way to heaven forever. I said he's gonna light the way to heaven forever. I said he's gonna light the way to heaven forever. Oh, good Lord, good Lord, good Lord, good Lord. He's gonna light the way to heaven. 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 He's gonna light the way. 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 He's gonna light the way to heaven for me. How many times have you heard someone say, if I had his money, I would do things my way. Oh, but little they know that it's so hard to find. One rich man in 10 with a satisfied mind. once I was living. Living in fortune and fame. I had all I'd been wishing. At the start of life's game. Oh, but one day it happened. Oh, I lost every dime. But I am much richer with my satisfied mind. 'Cause money can buy you youth when you're old. No, or a friend when you're lonely, or a love that's grown cold. All the wealthiest man is a pauper at times, when compared to the man with a satisfied mind. When my life is over, and my time has run out, some good friends and lovers I will leave, there's no doubt. But one thing's for certain, one thing's for certain, when it comes to my time, I will leave this old world with a satisfied mind. I will leave this old world with a satisfied mind.
Yes. Marshall Ruffin. Amazing. Fantastic. Love it, love it, love it. Love that song. Yeah, please go to Marshall's website. Y'all can be seated and check out when he's around. And like I said, he'll be at Grant Park tonight at 6:30. And for the, what is it? Summer Shade Festival. How have I never heard of that before? I thought I knew all things. You cried again. You need a Kleenex. You tear my husband up with your songs. Look what you've done to him. You crying because your mind is satisfied. Mhm. I heard that. I did want to say happy birthday to Tony Howard, who, um, if you look at the pictures from his birthday party that I think many of you were at last year, you probably don't recognize him. He looks nearly like a completely different person. And I have to say kudos, because it's not just, I mean, he's been very honest about having, a little surgical help. It's good to do that, but you can't just do that. I mean, a lot of people don't understand. It's not like you just, even with Reggie here, same thing. Because you still have to. I actually have learned a lot from Tony just asking him questions about it. Because if you don't change the lifestyle, you can. I mean, it can nearly all you can regress. And so, he's. And I think you just passed your training course. So he's a trainer, which I would think, especially for people that have had dramatic weight loss, that would be a real selling point. If you said, let me show you, this is where I was, this is where I am now. You don't want to go to a trainer that you're like, dude, I look better than you. Like, let me show you a couple of things. But anyway, we're very, very proud of Tony, and hope he has an excellent birthday. He and Wayne have been a part of us since they were part of Church of the Now Midtown. And when we transitioned to this, they stayed, and you think some of y'all drive a long way from Conyers, Covington. They probably drive twice what most of y'all drive. So church that's alive is worth the drive. I'm also very pleased to see one of our other favorite singers, Chelsea Shad, came in just to be with us today. And Marshall, I don't know, have you ever met Chelsea? Chelsea, have you ever met Marshall? I didn't know if your paths have ever crossed on the Atlanta music scene, but you should hear him. You should check out his music. He's really, really good. And you should check out her music. She's really, really good. Chelsea's you're about to start a tour, right? And you're going like, oh, look at all the fans. Like, yeah, we know. And I don't know if you've checked out her videos, but they're really, really good. She, some people translate well, just hearing them. And then visual is a whole other thing when you do videos. Not everybody's cut out for video. And her videos are really cool and original. And I can't help but feel paternal to these young. I mean, Marshall's a friend of Jonah's. That's how I met him. Chelsea, as I've told you before, she reminds me so much of Christina. Her personality is so similar to her. So always, there's a dad part of me that always wants to see them do well, and like when she's going on her tour, I'm like, make sure, let us know when you got checked into the hotel, please. Watch for stalkers. But I'm really proud of her, and I've watched her. Obviously, I've seen her here, and I've seen her in a club. But then last year, seeing her in Piedmont Park singing to several thousand people, it was very interesting to see her make that transition. Again, not every medium is the same. Some people are great in a coffee house, but then you put them on you put them on a big stage, and it's a completely different thing. But I was not just enjoying her music that day, but I was looking around at the fun everybody was having, and they were, people flocked to the stage and wanted to be part of it. There was one guy, I don't know if you remember that guy that was doing the big interpretive dance, and it was so. I mean, I wanted to say, would you please sit down? You're distracting. Because for a little bit it was funny, because he was doing these grandiose gestures, and I'm not sure he was high or he needs some counseling. But you were a real pro in dealing with, because she, it was one of those things, like if it were me, I would be like, can somebody take this guy away, because I can't, you're breaking my flow of concentration, because everybody's looking at this guy. And I was really interested to see what approach she was. She just overcame it and sort of incorporated him into it and kind of got in on the joke. And I thought, okay, she's gonna be fine. If she can overcome that distraction, because that was really distracting. Something's funny for a minute, and then you're like, all right, we got it. The joke, we didn't all come out here to watch your ugly butt dance. You know what I mean? Like, this was not the point of our coming to Piedmont. Sometimes people forget, It's like you go see a comedian and there's a heckler in the crowd. You're like, okay, see, we all paid for a ticket not to hear you. We didn't pay to hear you. So anyway, it's too bad you didn't bring your guitar, did you? No. All right. Namaste. Now, so when do you leave? You're about to leave on your tour, right? Okay. Well, we just speak a blessing over your tour. There's a scripture that says you're blessed when you go out and you're blessed when you come back in. So we just say that everything's going to go well. You're going to have good crowds, good venues, good technical stuff. It's going to be good. Good things are going to come out of it. And when you win your Grammy and get inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, you better say, I just want to give a little shout out to somebody who believed in me. Yes. All right. Good stuff. I hope you enjoyed the challenge for this week. It was hug therapy, and these are all pictures that Cheryl's taken of me hugging several of you, and I think that's Tony hugging, and that's Bryant and Roe. I got a text from him this morning, and is that Ken? Y'all are hugging? Ken, who are you hugging up there? Oh, okay. I just think you found some white man to hug. I was like, well, okay. I think every little bit helps. Look, these days when I see black and white people hugging, I'm like, good. We need all that we can get. So, that was it was good. And the more I read about it, I was surprised. There really is so much written about it. It's not just there's like scientific evidence and all kind of a lot of data about hugging, healing people. Avery included that video about the owl hugging the man that saved her, and that was really interesting. Even that animals, yeah, it's a. If you've got the shout out, she's got a link to the YouTube video of it. It's very, very interesting. And you wouldn't think that an owl, birds in general, but owls, I just kind of think of them being, aloof, kind of like eagles. But this owl was very appreciative for what this guy did in saving her. So very, very cool. What I'd like to do this week is this is another emotional one or spiritual one or psychological one or whatever, but I'd like you to, and you can just use your imagination on this. This week, I'd like to challenge you to honor your mentors in some way. By that, I mean, like, if you ever hear Oprah talk about her life, she says that there was a teacher she had in 5th grade that made her do an oral report. And when she got through, she said, have you ever considered going into broadcasting? And Oprah said, you don't understand. Nobody in my life had ever said anything positive to me at all, aside from the obvious, where she was born and being a little black girl growing up in the early 50s. Those are the obvious ones. But then her parents were divorced and she was shuffled back and forth between, hostile homes and, raped at an early age, and just all kind of things happened. And she said this one teacher, just having an authority figure believe in her like that. She said, I know it seems a lot to attribute everything to her, but she said it absolutely changed the trajectory of my life, because the woman said, you're really good at public speaking. You could make a career out of this. And she said, until someone had suggested that to me, I never even considered the possibility of something like that. So, if you want to write a tribute to somebody or say that you did something for somebody, whatever, because I can look back and I think there are all different people along my way that I remember a thing they did or a conversation that we had that I was not the same after that, like in a positive way. Like, oh, okay, you just imparted this to me. And nobody, as much as I'm all about self-reliance, and I understand the political implications of, even all that's going on right now. But like, I remember last year or a couple of years ago, President Obama made a speech and he said, if you started a business, you didn't start that business. And people misinterpreted what he said. They were, saying he was promoting communism. It was just not, if you just listen to the context, he was saying nobody got to where they are completely by themselves. He said, you're a product of everybody who's ever spoken into you. And if you don't believe that, you're really in denial of your life. I know I am. I can remember like, oh yeah, I think this way because of, I remember a teacher I had in 10th grade that said something to me that changed the way I thought about that. Or, like even when I was in college, I didn't connect with a lot of my professors. I just didn't. It was a very traditional Bible college. And even then I was so, I was just on a different wavelength. But I remember one in particular that he really did make a difference in my life. And I remember thinking, finally, thank you. Because it's not about the books. It's about it's the people that speak to you and really make a difference. So either just, you can write a tribute or post a picture or someone that helped you become who you are. And then you're just going to give some remembrance to them. All right. Got it? Capiche? For those of you that came in late, where he said that the outreach for next month is Red Cross, particularly and I know there's a lot of disasters. I mean, the floods happened, and then there was the earthquake in Italy, and then there were the tornadoes in Indiana. And, I got to say, and for any of you that are watching other parts of the country, I don't mean this in any kind of superior way, but I'm so blessed. I mean, it's amazing how little of that stuff that our area gets. And I'm not gloating over it. I'm just so grateful for it. Because when you look at those pictures, like, wow, I don't know if it's just because of where we are, where we're situated between, I don't know, but you don't see a lot of that. At least I haven't in my lifetime. I remember there was a odd tornado that went through Atlanta. I told y'all this, but so help me. I remember when I lived in Covington, I was watching the news and they had that Doppler radio, and they said, please take cover. There is a tornado heading for Covington. And they showed the map. I mean, I could see Floyd Street and it was headed right toward us. And I never watched the local news. I just happened to turn it on. I went on my back porch and I said, no, you don't. Turn around and go the other way. And so help me, I walked back in and the guy said, well, that's the craziest thing. He said, it was headed here a minute ago and now it's going the opposite direction. I was like, you're welcome. But you got to do what you got to do. So anyway, we'll go ahead and send that check. Avery, let's send that check tomorrow. And people don't realize how devastating it really is. It's huge. And you can't, it's apples and oranges. Like when somebody says, well, it's not as bad as Katrina. Bad is bad. There's no, it's the most bogus thing in the world when somebody says, oh, well, it's not as bad as so-and-so. Well, yeah, that's not your house underwater. So that's easy for you to say. Always offends me when people trivialize somebody else's, trauma, because if it's real to them, then it's a big deal, Don't ever try to top my story by telling me somebody's worst situation. All that's going to do is make me feel bad for that person and for me. If you don't have something, just be there and hush. Just be okay. I'm just preaching all kinds of sermons today. And our artist of the month next week is Paulette Washington. Paulette's going to be back to sing for us next month. And Paulette's always great, always a sure thing. I don't, yeah, should I say? Okay. I don't want to, with the power of intention, these things must be done very delicately. I'm sorry, remember the Wicked Witch said, these things must be done very delicately. We may have a really cool thing for Christmas. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. Because I don't want to overtalk it. But I just had a particular idea last night because I thought, man, we got to, usually you need to have something locked in by July. and like for venues and stuff. And I just hadn't come up with a good idea. And I loved where we were last year, oh, and I'm still looking around, but I thought, man, I just have this one idea. And I called somebody that may know somebody. And I didn't even mention this place. I just kind of, now I'm saying more than I need to say. And this person said, hey, here's an idea. What about so-and-so? He said, I could call in a favor. I was like, what? That's the place I was thinking of, but I wasn't going to say it. That's all I'm going to say. Shh, don't ask me. So don't ask me. Because sometimes when you just say it, like a few weeks ago, Ken and I walk a lot at night, and we were walking up Peachtree, and we'd eaten somewhere, and we got into coffee. And so usually we walk back the same way, but we turn just to sometimes open new neuropaths. I'll turn a different way or whatever. So we're walking by this restaurant, and I said, oh, that's that restaurant that I've heard. That's where that is. I've heard several people mention that. I said, we should eat there. We've been trying to go out with Ray and Joanne for months, trying to work out a night. They called us, hey, we want to take you out to eat. Where do you want to go? That's where they said. I said, so that's all I'm going to say. Don't ask me, but it could be really cool. It was just interesting that I didn't even say that to him, but he's the one that brought it up. I said, okay, shh, that's all I'm saying. Yeah, but you got to know a guy. Like, I was thinking, I would like something different for I don't know, something a little different for the picnic this year. I don't know what that would be. Like next day, John Scott calls, hey, I'm coming through on the 14th. I have my band with me. You want to do anything? I said, as a matter of fact, yeah, I do. So it's one of those things like, when David said, well, I killed a lion, I killed a bear, so I can kill this giant. So sometimes if you start to stress about what you're going to do about something, you think, well, it's always worked out every other time. Why would this be any different? Have I made my point? And I'm also, seems like the best is for last. This month, we're talking about spiritual progress, and we've used, for sake of time, I won't go back there, but we've used this verse out of Hebrews 6 where he says, he talks about moving on from the basics of what we thought was our spiritual journey and going into what really matters. Even when we ate with Ray and Joanne Friday night, we were talking about this, and I've taught about it a lot, but I said, the things, they were both raised Catholic, and to Roman Catholics, communion is a whole, it's probably more important even than it is in Protestant churches, because you do that every week at Mass. And I said, it's not that I've decided not to ever serve wine and bread again. That's not the point. I would never say never. It's that I so believe that I heard from the voice of God telling me what Jesus really meant in that Last Supper. Because if you read it in context, he says, the first thing he says to them is, with great anticipation, I've desired to celebrate this Passover with you. I mean, for them, that was like their Christmas. So he was saying, I love you guys. I've spent all this time with you guys. You mean a lot to me. This is what I want. Before I go to the cross, I want to be with you guys. So when he said, this is my body, he wasn't speaking about a piece of bread. He was saying, it's this thing that we have together. Whatever this was for the last 3 years, this synergy, this is my body. Now, he did use a piece of bread to describe that. And you go back to when he was teaching one day and he said, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no part of me. He's not talking about cannibalism and vampirism. He's saying, if you don't get me, you don't really have any part of me. Knowing somebody and understanding somebody are two complete different things. If you ever had somebody give you a gift and you open it and you think, this person has absolutely no idea who I am. This is something you would like. This has nothing, like when somebody says, I bought you this because you don't have anything like it. Well, if I don't have anything like it, it means I probably don't like stuff like this. I mean, it's not rocket science, and the reason I believe that so strongly about this, I don't believe it was just to commemorate his death. It was to celebrate this life that happens. To me, it was a physical manifestation. If two or more are gathered together in my name, there I am, or there is this. And the reason I believe it's important is after the resurrection, Jesus, he sees Peter on the beach. Remember, Peter's Jesus is on the beach and he's making breakfast, and Peter, when he sees him, just jumps out of the boat and runs toward him. And what Jesus says to him is so interesting. He says, well, I want to know, do you love me? He didn't say, how many demons did you cast out? How many miracles did you work? He didn't say, wow, that walking on the water thing was really something, Peter. He just said, what I want to know. And he asked him 3 times. In other words, of all the great things we did, yes, we fed the multitudes. Yes, we did great miracles. But if what we had together wasn't legit, then none of it makes sense. That's why he says, by this shall all men know that you're my disciples, not that you work miracles, but that you loved one another. And I went on to say to them, I said, honestly, that's what I feel. I look at those of you who have just, obviously know me and are connected to me. And even when you learn things about me over the years that you didn't know before, they didn't change how you felt about me because you knew the real me. The other things that were deal breakers for other people, that's for people that didn't know how to eat someone's flesh and drink someone's blood. In other words, they just said, well, I know you because you like, I won't say who, but they're here today and they'll know who I mean. But somebody here recently, I told them that I'd run into somebody that used to go to church in the now. And I was telling this person, we had this really great, reconnection. And this person said to me, well, it's interesting to hear you say that, because when I ask him why he doesn't go to church in the now anymore, he says, because he doesn't have any money anymore. And I was like, what? Wow, he really said that? And first of all, yes, I do. I will always have money. Trust me on this. I mean, I'm not sending as much to Red Cross as I did back in the day, but I sent more than most pastors in this area have. So Daddy will always have some money. You heard me? You ain't got to worry. You ain't got to worry about that. I promise you, ravens will come and feed me. Strangers will walk up to me and say, sir, I don't know you, but I feel compelled to give you this money, because it happens. But I'm saying that to say, when I see you guys, especially those of you that don't live in this neighborhood, and I know you have to drive a long way or whatever, I think, wow, this is my body. Do you know what I mean? Like these are the people that really get me, and what I built around me in another location was not me. That was a part of me, but that wasn't me. Anyway. So the reason I want to say that before I get into this verse of scripture, when we talk about tasting the power of the world to come, that's never going to happen until every individual becomes what he or she is supposed to be. Like the big paradigm shift doesn't just happen worldwide, it happens with individuals. It was interesting. One time, I don't think it was on Easter, but one time Chelsea was here and she sang John Lennon's Imagine. Well, you rarely would hear that in something that's church-like or whatever, because it's imagine there's no heaven, imagine there's no hell, or whatever. And I love that she sang it because I understood. If you go back and read some of the things that John Lennon said, he actually was amazingly insightful about the kingdom of God. But the line that I love says, "You may think that I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one." And that's the way change takes place. Sometimes you think, well, the reason Frances made a connection with me is because there were things, not that I didn't teach her, she already knew those things. They were jibing with what she believed. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not I'm coming to learn, it's I'm coming to be in agreement with you because something in me resonates something in you, and that needs to be in my life, that needs to be a part. It's not so much a teacher student thing as it is, wow, you see this too, all right, well, come on, because we all have a little part of it. So we talk, the age to come is not going to be an event. It's not, look, if I walk outside today and Jesus comes down in the clouds, I will fly away and I'll apologize to everybody. I'll say, my bad, I really did not think this was going to happen. And I assure you, whatever you do, I'll do too. And I'll be walking with Moses and Elijah and whoever else. You guys, wow, did I call that one wrong? But I'm like so sure that's not going to happen, because I believe we're the second coming of Christ. I don't believe it's an event. I believe it's a thing that happens. I'm quoting a lot of people today, but look, this is why I know it's not me teaching you, it's us. This is my body. But I remember, I think we were still in Covington maybe. And Jackie said to me, she said, I understand why Jesus said nobody knows the day and the hour of my return. Because, I mean, theologians have argued about that one for years. She said, it's because it's different for every person. I was like, what? Because, when you hear something, you're like, yes, of course that's right. Because if it's an event, I mean, I grew up here and it was 1988, September. I had a deadline in my life somewhere around September 23rd, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, 1988, 40 years after Israel becomes I never, people say, well, how come you never came out when you were young? Because I never thought I'd be here past 30. I want to stay here and get the mark of the beast. I mean, yesterday I put in the chip card that I have now, and I thought, man, there's a time I would have freaked out about that. I'd be like, there it is, 666. Please. That's been so misquoted. Lord have mercy. And people don't even know what they're afraid of. Like the man who said to me, I believe Jesus coming back. It's going to be like in that movie, when that guy was riding down the beach on a horse and he saw the head of the Statue of Liberty and he got down and he said, damn you, damn you. I said, that was Planet of the Apes. That wasn't about Jesus coming back. And he said, no, I'm pretty sure it was about people missing the rapture. I'm like, different science fiction. Yes, he did. And then this man came in, this big thing called Chewbacca the Wookiee with him, and he said, the force be with you. I'm like, yeah, praise the Lord. Yeah, it's in Daniel somewhere. Anywho, let me show you this. This is Romans 12:2. This is the in King James says, be not conformed to this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Here in the Message, it says, don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. That's so important. Readily recognize what he wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity, God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. I love that. Yesterday, we went to this birthday party. It was a fundraiser for homeless LGBT youth, but it was a birthday party for Dr. Tony McNeil, who is he's a friend of mine, and he's the worship leader at Ebenezer Baptist. Corey, that used to be our worship leader, works for him, so we have a lot of connections. And great party. And so, when I'm somewhere, I'm posting stuff, like I'm always engaged. And so I had posted earlier in the morning, I had reposted something I put on our blog a year or so ago about the word spell. Remember when I taught on that about someone being under a spell, and that's why the word spell, like that a lot of times people they don't even realize they're going through their life under the influence of somebody else. It's like hypnosis. And while I'm sitting there, my phone will buzz. We're at the party and I'm posting pictures, and I'm looking, and 2 or 3 people posted something about that. They were trying to make that into a political thing, specifically about the Republican candidate hypnotizing people, whatever. And I'm like, I'm deleting that. I'm not starting that, because I know what the next thing is. I know you're going to post a thing for Trump, and then the next thing's going to be about Hillary, and then y'all are going to be fighting on my page, and y'all are going to be stressing me out, because that's not what I didn't post. If I wanted to post something about Donald Trump, I would just post something about Donald Trump. I don't have to be so esoteric about it. That's not what I'm talking about. And y'all are hijacking my page, and you're trying to take it into your political stuff. And I've already read the nasty stuff y'all write on other pages, and y'all aren't bringing that nasty stinking stuff on my page. You could do it on your page. Yes, I'm very opinionated. I'll be happy to discuss it with you one-on-one, but to get on this forum and open it up, and it's the same predictable things. This is when you say this is when they say that, this is when you say this, here's counterpoint. I already read that ugliness, and it's too divisive, and no, we're not doing it on my page. Delete. My page is not, when you go to my page, birds are singing and it's fresh air. You're like, ah. Even earlier this week, I posted a little something. It's one of those things. It was like, it's not really negative, but I just need to vent a little bit about something. I'll probably take it off, but I just need to say it. It started with, people don't really ask me for money as much as they used to, but a lot of people ask me to post their Kickstarter or fundraiser thing on my page. I mean, I got 6 in the last few days. Well, if I did that, after a while, my page is just an advertisement for everybody's fundraiser, and I just can't do it. And when I tell people I can't do it, they get really mad. Like, all you have to do is share it. I'm like, I know, but if I do it for you, then the next 70 people that ask me, then after a while, there's nothing even about me or my family or anything on here. It's all your ads. Sorry, you don't understand that. Well, then I said, well, I don't listen. Because I'd had a conversation with somebody that was so, and then when I put it on there, I looked at it, I thought, it won't be on there long, because I just don't like, it sounded sarcastic and cheeky, and I'm like, nah, that's not what I want to put out there, because when you put it out there, everything you put out comes back. You cast your bread on the water, it comes back on every wave. So I posted a little something that said, yeah, I deleted that previous one. And then somebody said, hey, I saw it. I was going to write on it. I was going to say, y'all leave Bishop alone. I'm like, ew, I'm deleting that too. Like, God, I'm not the guy you pity. Oh, geez, no. I'm the guy you like, that guy's doing awesome. That is the girl. I don't mind attention, but feeling sorry for me, ew, that is the grossest. If somebody pitying you feels good, you need to check that. You need to ask. I mean, everybody wants attention, but why do you need, like, if you need pity, there's other ways to get, believe me. Wear a jacket this color, you will get attention. That's how you do it. You don't get people feeling sorry for you. Ugh. Gives me the heebies and the jeebies. But I love this because what he said, the way the message says it is, don't just say everything everybody else says in your culture. Like I look back at our what's happening in our electoral process, and yeah, it's distressing. I don't know if you saw this. Last Sunday we were driving home from Metron, and somebody in front of us had a sticker on their car. It looked like a presidential election sticker, and it said 2016, we're screwed. And I just thought it was funny. I mean, it made me laugh. And I posted, I said, this is no political statement, so don't start in on me about Donald and Hillary. I don't want to hear about either of them. I'm just saying that's a funny statement. And I watch the news so much, I probably need an intervention. I mean, sometimes I just have to, like, dear God, turn it off. You have heard the same story over and over. But I like to be informed, and I'm very politically engaged, and I always vote and blah, blah, blah. But to get sucked into that conversation that just keeps polarizing everybody, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. And whatever you do on your page is your business. Go with God, fine. But I can't. So yesterday I said, I'm not opening those floodgates on my page because I know where that goes, especially when you reach as many people as I do. Like in 10 minutes, you'll have 200 comments, and suddenly you're this political blog. You're like, no. My Facebook page is like the pool of Bethesda. People can visit my page, they get healed. It's true. Patty, that's your last one. You got any other jokes? All right. Everybody tell Patty, thank you very much. I'll take it from here. Anyway, let me show you. I like this quote a lot. Our subconscious minds have no sense of humor, play no jokes, and cannot tell the difference between reality and an imagined thought or image. What we continually think about eventually will manifest in our lives. What's that got to do with the tasting the powers of the age to come? Well, until your subconscious is changed, you don't change. I've taught on it a lot. There's so much more to say about the subconscious. Do you remember there was a movie that came out years ago with Matthew Broderick? It was called War Games. And it was in the early part of video games, where he was playing a video game, and somehow, if I recall, somehow he tapped into the computer system that, like through the Pentagon, that could possibly set off a war, drop a bomb, whatever. And there's this chilling moment when he realizes that the computer is kind of taking on a life of its own. And he says to the computer, is this a game or is this for real? And the computer says back to him, what's the difference? That's one of the scariest lines in any movie ever, because what they're saying is the computer has no bias, has no emotion, has no whatever. It's just garbage in, garbage out. And I've been thinking a lot about that. Even this conversation I had, I want to say this carefully because this person may be streaming today, and I'm going to use this as an example. Nobody will know who I'm talking about. But I reconnected with somebody I hadn't seen in 30 years. Used to be part of my Bible school back in the early 80s. And so we had he said, I've been wanting, he said, I've wanted to get in touch with you over the last 30 years, but I've just, for some reason, I'm now on social media, and could we have lunch? Okay, fine. So a couple of weeks ago, we go have lunch, and it was fine. I could tell that I have changed considerably in 30 years. It's kind of hard to, when somebody says, well, so what's new? Like, well, a lot's happened in 3 decades, as it had with his life. And he goes to a church not far from here, and he said, yeah, I go there. He said, I'd like to sing on their praise team, but they have a rule that, if you're sexually active or if you're gay, you can't be on their praise team or whatever. And I said, that's their only 2 rules. He said, well, yeah, but I mean, I guess they don't want you to, take drugs or whatever. And I said, okay. I was like, whatever. And he said something about, he said, well, I think sin is sin. If you're guilty in one point, you're guilty in the moment. I said, okay, I know I haven't seen you in 30 years, but I'm going to have to call you on that. I said, I don't believe being gay is a sin. And he said, well, I'm not trying to offend you. I said, no, I said, orientation is about how you're wired. It's not, I said, if I'd never been with a man, if I'd gone to my grave single and celibate, I would still been gay because that's how I'm wired. It has nothing to do with, it's no more about sex than it is for a straight person. And so he could tell, like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go here or whatever. And then we talked about other stuff and it was fine. Well, he's been calling me for several days, and I really need to talk to you, really need to talk to you. And so I thought, all right. So the day before yesterday, I returned the call, and he said, it's just troubling me that you said this. And he said, I'm trying to figure out why it troubled me. Because when you said, I don't think being gay is a sin, he said, it's just like all my systems went off. And it was interesting, the language he used, and this is why I'm bringing it up, because this guy used to, I don't know what even you call it now, but he made his very successful career with computer programming. So he knows a lot about the language of computers. And he said, it occurred to me that I am coded to automatically respond a certain way. And like, I even have really good friends that think their church is gay affirming, but they will say things like, our church accepts drug addicts, alcoholics, prostitutes, and homosexuals. I'm like, okay, please don't put that in the same category, because you're still marginalizing what you think is sinful. And I told him, I said, I'm not questioning what your pastor does, because it's a very successful church, not far from here. But I said, how does he, if that's their criteria about people's morality, how far do you take that then? I mean, do you monitor everything they watch on TV? And if you don't want them to watch something that could be sexual, do you also tell them not to watch violent stuff? Because on my cable channels, I channel surf, and there's a guy getting his head cut off and somebody disemboweled, and nobody thinks anything about that. They're like, as long as there's no nudity, like, slice them up. I'm like, y'all don't think that's that's kind of immoral, dismembering people, that's kind of, in my head, that's kind of worse than sex, but no, we should enjoy it. And I said, and really, if you're going to be extreme, then to be on their praise team, do you follow them around and ask, did you walk in love this week? Did you forgive? I said, is that a deal breaker? Like, what if somebody's on your praise team that hates their father or something? Is that going to be a problem? And he said, I don't have the answers to that. He said, I'm not trying to argue with you. He said, I'm trying to understand why my coding is what it is. And I said, all right, fair enough. So I said, normally I would not have gone this far in the conversation, but since I believe you're asking the right way, I'm going to kind of walk you through this and kind of explain some things. And we had an okay conversation. He said, I actually would like to come visit. I said, that's fine. I'd be glad for you too. But I can't get away from that he used the word coding. I thought, wow, that's really interesting. Because whatever has been programmed into you, that's the reality. That's what you're walking in. And that's why I want to end this month's teaching about the age to come is not just a cosmic occurrence. It's something that happens individually. And that's why we have to investigate our subconscious. Because your subconscious is really like your hard drive. I like to, I'm like a diver through my subconscious. Like I'm always exploring. Why do I like? Remember 2 or 3 weeks ago when I said I heard this guy on TV say we don't get what we want, we get what we think we deserve, and I felt like a pain in my side when he said it. I thought, why did it hit me so much? And it really made me examine. Do I think I don't deserve a building or whatever? And it really exposed something I didn't even know was in there that was in my subconscious. And I think it was the first Sunday you guys were here, and Patrick said to me, he said, "Can I just tell you?" He said, "I gave to what you did before." He said, "But I don't have giver's remorse." He said, I wasn't giving to building. I was giving to an idea, and you're still that idea." He said, I give because you're doing what the building was just the thing that housed that." And I said, I know that. I'm sure I know that. And Avery had said something similar to me earlier in the week. But I said, it is good to hear somebody else say it. That's what I'm talking about. This is my body. Sometimes you hear somebody say something back to you and you're like, you know what? Yes. In the mouth of truth and witnesses, every word is established. And I can tell, like, if I never get a building, it won't be because I don't think I deserve it. It'll be because I just don't want the hassle. That's a totally different thing. But I like to, if I see my subconscious is taking me a direction that seems odd to me, I always want to know, like, what is that? And that's why I brought that thing up about war games, because your subconscious is like that computer. And you know why? You know why I know it's true? Jesus says, if you hate your brother, you're a murderer. If you fantasize about adultery, you've committed it. So what he's saying is that your thought life is reality. So if that's true, if that principle is true, then if I think I'm successful, aren't I successful? If I think I'm prosperous, then I'm prosperous, right? Paul said that's really what he was meaning when he said, I've learned how to be a base, I've learned how to abound. He said, what I've learned is, and really, that's everything that last song Marshall sang is about. That's not an anti-money song. He's saying money can't buy certain things, and it can't buy a satisfied mind. And that is true. That's not saying give all your money away. That's saying where your treasure is, your heart is. Because look, I am not mad at money, but there are some things money cannot buy. And that's not an anti-prosperity message. That's just the truth. So, as a matter of fact, sometimes money complicates things. If you have a lot of it and somebody connects with you and you think, well, I don't know if do they just like me or like me for my money? And sometimes if you have money, you have no way of knowing that. That's why so many of these big stars are married to people that knew them before they made it really famous. Because once you hit a certain echelon, then you don't know, if is this person a groupie, or are they, you like those people that knew you back when you weren't nobody. Those are the people that know they love you. They loved you before, they love you after. You got those kind of people, you better send them a Christmas card. This guy, I love this guy. I would go to one of his seminars. He was, if you ever saw What the Bleep Do We Know, he was interviewed a lot in this. He's actually a chiropractor, but he's more than that. He's kind of like Dr. Sheila. He's more of a healer type. But he's got, if you ever go to his page and read some of his stuff, I've never read anything that he said that's not just awesome. He's the guy that does that whole thing about I create my day, how you create your day. But this is possibly, at least for this week, this is my favorite quote ever. I like quotes that, as wordy as I am, I actually like quotes that are succinct and make a point. It says, a memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. Wow, I have thought about that for a couple of days. Because that whole thing about unless you have forgotten, you haven't forgiven, that's a bull. There's no way. You can't just forget stuff that's happened, but you can remember it with some perspective. And I love this. He says, a memory without the emotional charge is called wisdom. Like, man, That's just a few words there, but that says a lot. Because if I regress in a memory and everything kicks in, that's negative, then it's not wisdom. It takes me back to a dark place. It's interesting. Some of y'all are my age. I know Ray just went to his 40th high school reunion, and mine is coming up in October. And I wasn't sure I was going to go because most of my friends weren't in my graduating class. And I thought, this is going to be a bunch of people there that I don't really know and didn't have any history with. And I don't think I want to. But there's a guy that we weren't even friends with in high school, but he's been inboxing me, and he said, he wrote me late last night, and he said, I just want to give you the heads up. He said, we really want you to come to this. And I've mentioned it to several people. He said, I've been following your story for the last 5 years. I'm so honored to know you. And we're all so proud of you. And, please come. I don't know, he's like, I'm just really hoping that you'll do this. And it's like 2 nights that we go to the homecoming game, and then there's a dinner or whatever. And I said, all right. Yes, I will go. And then I got excited about it because I thought, there's some things I'm like, I don't want to deal with those people and have to hear that or whatever. And I thought, no, you know what? I have some memories that could be called negative, but they're not emotionally charged anymore. And even earlier this week, a girl that I went to grammar school with, I have not seen Camille since 1970. And so if we had still lived in that town, I would have been in their graduating class. So they're having their 40th this year. So she inboxed me one night this week. My inbox stays busy. And she said, I was going through some stuff for the reunion. I found this of our 4th grade picture. And I wanted to send it to you. Some of you saw me post it. And it's amazing how immediately I could remember so many names. And she said, do you remember Miss Waddell, our teacher? And I said, are you kidding? Do I remember? I was terrified of her. And she said, well, we all were. She said, what you might not have known that her at the time, because I would have been in 4th grade like in 1967, 68. She said at the time her son was a prisoner of war in Vietnam, and he was in a camp for 6 years and got out and has this amazing story now about how he got out. But it was like not that I have nightmares about Miss Waddell, but she was a meanie. She just was. Like, I don't remember ever laughing in her class, or it was just like, it was always. But then I'm looking at her and I thought, oh crap, I didn't know that. How could we at 8 or 9 years old possibly comprehend what that woman was going through? So I looked, I'm sure she must have passed away years ago, and I'm looking at her wrinkled face and I thought, wow, I had no idea. And then there's a little guy that he never beat me up, but he was just a bully, and I was always scared of him. And he was like just, like redneck guy that spit a lot. It was always like, and I looked at him, he was like tiny. I thought, was he that guy that little? What was I that? I mean, I'm sure I was bigger than him. Like, why was I scared of him? And I was thinking, whatever happened to him? Did he, what did he grow up to be like? But it was such a paradigm shift. I can look at all those memories and I feel so differently about them. You really can change a memory. And if a memory keeps firing a negative thing, you've got to find a way. You remember, this has been, a couple of years ago now, I guess. I told you about this place on Lookout Mountain that I went when I was a kid. It was one of the first memories I had, and a guy shot at us, and it was terrifying. And my dad was running through the woods, and this guy was firing on him, and they stole my mom's wedding band and a bunch of stuff. And then a couple of weeks later, this couple was just brutally murdered up there, and this guy fits the same description. And I used to have nightmares about it because it's one of my earliest memories. I remember my mom dragging me through the woods, and I said, "Why is Daddy shooting a gun?" And she said, "He's chasing a bear." And so for years I thought, and so then about a year or so before this, Ken and I were having dinner one night. I said, I said, my memory is very colorful. Like I don't make up, I'm not Ryan Lochte. I don't make up stuff, but I remember it a lot more. I mean, I just do. I mean, my memory always goes toward Technicolor. And I said, walk me through what happened at Lula Lake that time. I said, is it? And the story they told me was way worse than what I remembered. I was like, oh my God, that's what happened. Like, I didn't know, like that we went to the police station and I had to sit in the cop car, and my dad went back and chased the guy through the woods, and he slid down the side of the mountain, and the guy was shooting with it. And I read all this stuff online about how the guy just died a couple of years ago, and he admitted on his deathbed that he had just, I mean, I will not go into detail, but it was bad what he did to this couple that was parking up there. And I know it's the same guy. He fits the same description. It was just a few weeks after we were up there. So, I mean, they're telling me this story, and I got chills. And I said, you know, I got to go. They've reopened it because there was so much crime up there. They closed it for years. Well, now they've reopened it, and one Saturday of the month you can go there, and it's beautiful. And I told Ken, I said, I know this is crazy, but I've got to go there and have a new memory. So we went up there and spent the night so we could be there, and you have to sign in because they're not going to ever let it become a crime place like that again. You have to sign in and sign out, but you have the whole day there, and it's just beautiful. We had such a great time. And now if you mention Lula Lake to me, I'm like, oh yeah, it's so cool. They open, you should go up there. You open the first Saturday of every month. It's especially in the fall. It's just beautiful. And I have a completely different energy on that memory than I had my entire life. I used to have nightmares about it, and and wake up just in a sweat thinking about this guy shooting at us when I'm 4 years old. So you can change a memory, but you got to update those files, and you got to go in your subconscious and find out, like, why am I reacting this way? Like sometimes if you ever had somebody say something to you and you just like way overreacted to it, you think, what is going on in my subconscious? Like, why did this fire up some kind of negative memory that's not the current reality? I've learned, like, if somebody in traffic or something goes off on me or whatever, I just think this really isn't about me. You got something going on, and I'm not gonna be pulled into your vortex while you're trying to, project onto me some issue you just went through an hour ago with your ex-wife, because this isn't about me, and I don't want to get shot for your unresolved issues. So peace. Can we all get along? Go with God. We are the world. Kumbaya. Here's another quote by him. I'm not in a Joe Dispenza cult, but I want to quote him again. Maybe a third time today. Your thoughts and feelings come from your past memories. If you think and feel a certain way, you begin to create an attitude. An attitude is a cycle of short-term thoughts and feelings experienced over and over again. Attitudes are shortened states of being. If you string a series of attitudes together, you create a belief. Beliefs are more elongated states of being and tend to become subconscious. When you add beliefs together, you create a perception. I love the way this is explained. Your perceptions have everything to do with the choices you make, the behaviors you exhibit, the relationships you chose, and the realities you create. In other words, there's no new world coming until you start dealing with the one that you're in now. You can't just say, I'm never going to be this way again. It doesn't work that way. You have to change something in the hard drive. You have to go inside and examine what has been fed into my subconscious that is running my life. I think I have one more quote by him even, or do I? Yeah, I do. Warning, when feelings become the means of thinking, or if we cannot think greater than how we feel, we can never change. That's so important. To change is to think greater than how we feel. To change is to act greater than the familiar feelings of the memorized self. I love talking about the miracles of Jesus. It's not that I don't think they happen literally, because I do. I believe Jesus was a miracle worker. But I love the point to them. Like the man at the the paralyzed man that was waiting for the angel to come trouble the water to put him in, remember? And Jesus says, what's your problem? He says, well, I've been paralyzed for all these years, 35, I think, maybe. And he said, I have to wait till, and really it was probably an urban legend that an angel came and troubled the water. He said, I always wait. He had a story. Like, I've been paralyzed all these years. I always wait for the angel to come. The angel comes. I miss my window of opportunity because there's nobody here to put me in the pool. And Jesus like shows no compassion. Jesus doesn't say, oh, wow, that's terrible. How many years? Why were you paralyzed? Why is it? Let's build a ramp. He didn't say, he says, thank you for that laugh. Thank you. I'll be here all week. Remember to tip your waiters. No, he says, well, take up your bed and walk. He's like, he makes the man come up with a new story. Because that man has said, think about how many times you've said your stuff. Why are you single? Oh, well, why are you? Well, you've got a story for, well, this is why I am this way. I tell you, when I recognize mine, I'm like so mad. I'm like, oh, that story. Like years ago, I was what I was as a songwriter, but enough artists covered my songs, not the least of which was Candy State, and she recorded 2 of my songs. You can find it on iTunes, and I wrote it. Jeff Finholt did not. Well, it just came out recently. He posted online, this is a great song that Candy State wrote, and I was on his page. I said, thank you for posting my song. Candy's arrangement of it's really good. Of my song that I wrote. But that's how I got with ASCAP. And I haven't been paid by ASCAP in a while, but for a few years, I got quarterly checks that they bought me a few suits, took me on a few vacations. It was a nice little perk. Like, oh, somebody's recording my song. That was good. So I've known that side to it. Well, then these very good friends of mine who are Grammy award-winning songwriters, they were having a songwriter workshop, which I went to. Well, when they got through telling us how to write songs, I thought, well, that's not all the way I write songs. And I just never wrote a song again. It's like, I just thought, oh, well, I guess I'm doing it wrong. And I just never did it again. Now, baby, that's my fault. That's not their fault. And so for years, people would say to me, and it was Donnie and Reba. I told them a few years back, I said, y'all know why I never wrote a song again. Because I went to one of y'all's seminars, you told me how to write songs, and y'all taught me out of it. They didn't care. They're like, we don't even teach that way now. I'm like, but again, that was my fault. And one day I thought, I didn't have to depend on songwriting for a living. So, it didn't really push me into it. But I thought, man, think of the songs I could have written over the years if I hadn't just settled for that story. Because people used to ask me, why don't you write songs anymore? Well, here's my story. Start the music. Well, I used to write songs. I wrote a few of them. Candy State and some other people recorded them. Then I went to this seminar about songwriting, and they told me I wasn't writing them right. So I went out and said, I'm never going to write a song again. So I never wrote another one again. Oh my God, why didn't somebody slap me? What a stupid story. I might have written the greatest song in the world that I just didn't because somebody said you were doing it wrong. I should have said, baby, I've already had 7 artists record my stuff. Somebody must think I'm writing them all right. That's what I should have said. And if I picked up a couple of pointers, fine. But that was on me. And when you're talking to people all the time, you end up telling your stories over and over again. If we're out with somebody, people say, how did you and Ken meet? And I was like, sorry, you have to hear the story one more time. He always says, I don't care. But you have to tell the story over and over and over again. Some stories are fine. There's other stories that keep you locked in. And every time you tell that story one more time, you've added another layer of bars on your jail. You've just, Houdini's just made it that much harder to escape. Because now you're not just, you remember Houdini? You're not just hanging upside down, put in the safe with a blindfold and handcuffs. Now you're at the bottom of the ocean. And so Jesus just said, well, take up your bed and walk. And the man's like, okay. And another classic is when the guys are fishing all night and he says, did you catch anything? They said, no, we've been here all night and haven't caught anything. He said, well, put your nets on the other side of the boat. Well, I'm not even a great fisherman, and I could tell you, Jesus, I love you and all, but you clearly don't know anything about fishing, because that's not going to make any. I mean, the boat's right here. Like no fish. Like really? I mean, it's like. Like, did you ever do that thing where you close one eye and close another eye, and the image moves just a little bit? That's all the Really, Jesus? Like, it's not. It's just like, it's not going to make that much. It just can't make that much of a difference. He says, just do it. What did? They caught so many fish that broke the net. Now, it's immaterial to me whether that literally happened or not. I'm not saying it didn't. I'm saying the point is, and this is why literalists don't know how to rightly divide the work, is they're obsessing over what actually happened, and they're missing the power of the story, of the parable. The story is that you may be just like one tiny little thought away from changing your entire life. How is it that easy? It's just that easy. I'm telling you, it's just another thought. And sometimes until you recognize this one that's floating around in your subconscious that's just stinking up the place. Like, I like all different fruits, but when they put fruit together and they put grapefruit in, I actually like grapefruit, but I don't like it in with other fruits because everything ends up tasting like the grapefruit. And that's the way there are some thoughts that you have that are so powerful, they color every other thought that you have. This is, you know this so well, Philippians 4:13. This is where Paul said, this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind, I press on. And this is a little wordy, but bear with me. This is out of the Jonathan Mitchell New Testament. He says, brothers or fellow believers, my family, I'm not yet calculating or logically considering or reckoning myself to have taken it down by hand or seized or grasped or gotten hold of it in order to have it. Yet there is one thing, I love this, and this is why I use this, habitually forgetting, on the one hand, the things behind or in the back, or on the other hand, constantly reaching and stretching myself out upon the things in front or ahead. I am continuously pressing forward, pursuing down toward an object in a view or a mark on which the eye is fixed into the awarded contest prize of God's, or the award which is God's. Invitation to an above place or an upward calling, having the source from, with qualities and characteristics of God, within the midst of and in union with Christ Jesus. In all of that verbiage, the thing that stands out to me is habitually forgetting. Habitually forgetting. Habitually forgetting. Habitually forgetting. Because if you don't, and I'm all about touchstones and remembering landmarks in your life, but within the remembering, there has to be the forgetting. Do you understand what I'm saying? In every relationship requires some forgetting. There's no way you can have a successful relationship without some ability to forget some things. Seriously. I've only gotten 2 or 3 of these to this extreme over the years. If somebody has an issue with me, I mean, plenty of people have had issues with me. Some of them were deserved, some of them weren't. Sometimes I did well, sometimes I did, sometimes it was on them. But what used to get me is when somebody would write a letter and it would be like this long case. It'd be like, and then one time in 1993, you didn't speak to me in the lobby. And then another time you said so-and-so. And you think, wow, you've been building that case for a long time. Like, if you were this upset, why didn't you just come to me 20 years ago? Why have you got to walk me through now that we're through the 80s, here's all the crap you did in the 90s. I'm like, wow. So all these years you've been sitting under my ministry, seething under these things that you can't forget. And I have no idea. I'm just like, hey, what's up? And I have no idea that there's a letter coming in 2015 that's going to be, it's like you pull it out of the envelope and it's like, it's flowing in the breeze. When you know a lot of people and a lot of people are opinionated, you got to take that stuff in little bites. You know what I mean? After a while, I've told you this before, but I remember in the early days when we would have church membership. This is before we built on Irish Drive, and we were still there on Klondike. We were around 200, 300, 400, somewhere in there. And it was manageable enough that anybody that wanted to join the church, they would come in and do kind of like an interview with me. And that was fine. I got to know everybody. That was before the church really exploded. And after a while, I couldn't keep up with it. But at that, with 200 or 300, you can manage that. And, but some people would come in and it'd be like 4 hours of them grilling you over all kind of stuff. I want to make sure you're not a cult leader and you're like some David Koresh. And I used to sit there and take it for hours. And one day, I felt the Holy Spirit tap me on the shoulder and say, now, why are you doing this again? Because this didn't come from me. I didn't tell you to do this. And I'm thinking, but I'm trying to be, like, no, you're being an idiot. I mean, it's like, that's what I felt like he was saying. Like, no, this isn't humility. This is just setting yourself up for somebody just to spew all over you and hope you like it. And you sit there and go, thank you, sir. May I have another? Not now. Now you even start in on that. I'm like, you know what? I love you and all. There's lots of places you can go. None of which will be here. And it's not that you're not teachable. It's after a while you're like, oh, no, I don't want to. I am what I am. That's not going to, if any change is going to happen, it'll be something that I believe God tells me needs to change. It won't be just because you got issues, because that's your problem. That's not mine. And then one more, Kierkegaard was a great philosopher and theologian who lived in the 1800s. It's a simple statement, but very true. Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. I don't believe in denial. I believe if somebody's like, if you go through something horrible, I do ask you about it. I'm not Pollyanna, let's stick our head in the sand guy. I'm like, oh, really? What did they say before they died? But I'm like, I don't even try to talk. Like, Beth lost 2 sisters in a matter of 3 weeks. And I thought, I said, Beth, you win. You know what I mean? On the losing loved ones, like, there's nothing. I just have to say, take it one day at a time, because there's not enough. God's got to play, and not just losing sisters, but had to go in and clean out their apartments and deal. And I'm just like, whew, that one. I won't say it here, but I told her that just sucks. I mean, it just does. And God will get you through it, but there's nothing I can say to make that feel any better. Thank God there were some people up there to help you, and you got a support system here. But it just, there's nothing. I couldn't even, not having siblings, I couldn't even begin to empathize with what that would be like. So I'm just like, horrible. You think, that's not what pastors are supposed to say. You're supposed to say, God had a plan. Oh, please. Even God's like, no, that was not the plan. You know what I mean? And I don't, if something really negative is going on with me, I don't like people to try to make it make sense. That doesn't make me feel better. When like, everything happens for a reason. I'm like, really? Well, I got a reason, right? It's like, no, just be my friend, or let's talk about it, or let's have a drink, or let's, whatever. I don't need you to try to make me feel better about it. It's just a part of life that's unpleasant, and I'll get through it just like you get through yours. And thank God that's why we have relationships. And don't give me some kind of religious platitude that's going to make me subconsciously hate God. People don't even realize they're ticked off at God because of stupid stuff that ministers have said, trying to make sense of. Like, your mother died when you were a child. Guess what? That hurts. And here's a thought. It's probably going to hurt pretty much kind of for the rest of your life. You just figured out a way to manage it and live with it and deal with it. But for somebody to get up, and the worst one over the years, if somebody's kid died, and I'd have to share like we had a years ago, young boy in the church kid died in a car wreck. Just started driving, died in a car wreck. And I'm devastated about it. You know, I've got kids that age, and it's horrible. And the other minister, before me, he got up and talked about how, you know, God just loved him so much, he needed to take him. And I'm like, you know, if that was my son's body in a casket there, this is making it so much worse. Well, you're saying that, you know, God needed another rose in his garden. I'm like, why do you need my rose? Like, what, you know, this is. And when I got up, I said, look, I'm not trying to offend anybody, and no disrespect to brother so-and-so, but I said, I hate everything about this. I don't want to be here. I wish we weren't here. I don't see in. I said, here's what I do believe. God will help you through it. He is with the Lord. You will see him again. Comfort of the Holy Spirit, peace that passes understanding, blah, blah, blah. But in the meantime, good God, I can't imagine what it's like to lose your son in a car wreck. And for me to stand up here and try to make us all feel spiritual about it, I just can't do it. And you may be regretting me asking me to do this funeral, but I just feel like that's not the truth. And I would rather sit with you and cry over your loss, and let's go have a piece of chicken afterwards, and, you know, try to get through the next day, and God will help you get your equilibrium. But I'm not gonna make if it's somebody that's lived a good long life and they were ready to go, then yes, that's when you go in and celebrate. But not when somebody's hurting. It's insensitive. So, life must be understood backwards. It must be lived forwards. And I must shut up because it's very late. Let's all stand. You know, last Sunday, I'm going to confess my fault that I might be healed. Last Sunday, I forgot that, you know, most of the guys that helped Ken tear down weren't here. And he had just had surgery, so he could hardly move. So I was going to take, what's their names? Marshall and Corey out for lunch, and Christina came, so I was taking her and the girls. So we're sitting there, and I'm like, where the heck is he? We can't order until he gets here. Like, somebody's got him in a corner. I'm like, we can't order till you get here. I'm like, dear Lord, Ken, you just get out of the conversation with somebody so we can eat? He came in and said, where have you been? He said, well, Miss Roz had to help me tear down. I was like, oh, I feel so bad. I should have gotten somebody to help. Everybody else is like, la, 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 we're all out of here. We're all going to eat. And Ken, with his surgery and his little stitches, was doing stuff all by himself. I did. I really felt horrible. I'm like, could you just tell us what you want to order? So the waiter has been here 5 times. Somebody should have said, he's in there tearing down the equipment for the ministry that you have. I'm like, oh, my bad. Never mind. So thank you, Ms. Roz. Thank you for stepping in. So if any of you ever want to help him with that part of it, I know the guys back there are doing their part of it, but up here it's not as much tear down as it used to be. But anyway, look, it's very late. I'm not going to run this thing. Y'all got the money. We need the money. Give the money. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. You know, if you have cash, pay it forward. If you have a check, give it to. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you anymore. Go home. Have a great day. You're awesome. I love you. Please come back next week. It's great. Please get out of here. And somebody help. No, I don't want you to get out. Let's all. Happy birthday, Tony. God bless everybody. Peace. You wake up tomorrow saying good stuff.